It's 11 o'clock. We'll get started. Good morning. My name is Jan Schmitz from the Edmonton Pride Seniors Group, and thank you all for attending our weekly Aging with Pride discussion group for the LGBTQ seniors and the allies. And thank you too to our partners, SAGE and the Pride Center of Edmonton. Before I begin, I must acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 6 territory and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our lives. Easy for me to say. I must let you know that our session will be recorded for future use on our YouTube channel. If you don't wish your image to be recorded, please close your video feed. Secondly, may I remind you of the code of conduct outlined on your Zoom invitation. Over to you, Eric.
Well, good morning, everybody. So this is going to be an interesting challenge today. We are going to have a discussion and talk about our past quarter. And hope you can see my slide deck here. There we go. So, yeah, we just wanted to sort of cover off what we have done this quarter, and because we'd really like some input onto how we did and what we should be doing for the future. So here's a quick review. April 7th was Liz and Michael, both a really good conversation about building community. Then Jean and Cheryl from Saskatoon. And it was really interesting for me anyways to get the insight of what they've been doing in Saskatoon and compare that to what's been going on here in Edmonton. This was a very good one. Erin from, she does a lot of talks at SAGE on the same topic on legal documents and the importance of what each one does and why it's important to have each one. And then of course we had me, and I'll just skip over this one really quickly, but talking about finance. And I think one of the things in that is that we want people to be able to not only know about applying for various pensions and so on, but if you have some information on this, to also share it with your neighbors and with friends, because what I found in doing some work with seniors is that people, suddenly we land up as we turn 20 one day and it seems the next day we're turning 65 or 70. And a lot of the information that we really need about getting older sometimes isn't there. So the finance element is important. So for May,
in May, on May 5th, we had Chris, Darren, and Michelle who talked about the project they worked on, which was the walking tour of our Edmonton queer history. And then on May the 12th, we had Laura Schultz. She was discussing elder abuse. Yeah. And then May 19th, we had Chris Krevenschuk, and he was talking about the Edmonton Vocal Minority Queer Choir in Edmonton. And on May 26th, we had Joanne Raschenberger, and she talked about the Pride Bus and some of the history. Over to you, Rachel.
And I will do June. All right. So on June 2nd, we had Blake Desjardins, and he was speaking not only about his time being a member of Parliament, but also touched on the important work that he got to do working on the bill to ban conversion therapy, which I would like to watch the video of. That sounds pretty interesting, and uniting the parties on that, which I think is really important. Next on June 9th, we had Darren. Darren was giving a special talk kind of on his stages and pages, a little behind the scenes with him and some of his days as a drag icon, etc. Next, on June 16th, we had our Pride Tea, which was a new version of us attempting to live stream it while gathering in Jan's living room, which thank you so much, Jan. And thank you to Eric, because Eric actually made us some strawberry shortcake for those that were able to be in person, which was so nice as a little harken back to our days where we were actually getting to do it together at Sage, having our strawberry shortcake. And then also thanks to the Pride Center, because they actually helped us pay for having entertainment of Northern Heart, which is Linda and Danielle. And they have been part of our Pride Tees for a long time, back at Sage, many, many years. And so it's kind of nice to have a little mini version of how things used to be, and hopefully will be by next year. So that was very nice. And then that brings us to June 23rd, where we had our own Larry Jewell sharing kind of his journey about alcoholism and yeah, just his journey along the way with that. And that brings us to today, which is June 30th. And we are just kind of recapping and seeing what people would like in the future, what you like, didn't like. Just give us some feedback on what everyone would like to see more of or less of. And that's about it, I think. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Anybody want to give us some feedback? And anybody have any comments or questions for us, or suggestions? Go ahead, Rachel. I mean, go ahead and moderate this part.
Does anyone have any feedback or questions? Yeah, I just would love to hear from you guys, what you enjoyed, didn't enjoy. If you have any feedback to give, I think that would be great. This is obviously a group that's supposed to be always beneficial. So the more we can bring topics that you liked or didn't like, or more of that type, that's just always helpful when we gear up in the fall. Does anyone have anything to say, share?
I do.
Great.
Yeah, I do too.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Joan.
For some reason, certain ones just stand out in my head, but the one with Georgette Reed was really, really interesting. And the other one was our favorite soldier, and his name is escaping me right now, but his, these sort of, talking about their journeys and being, actively discriminated against in our working system. Those things really struck home to me. And I think for people viewing, they really are impactful, because so many people just think, everything is great and, we're all accepting now. But when you hear those kinds of stories, it's like, no, discrimination is still happening. So I don't know if we need, more of that, more people fighting the system, more political stuff. Maybe that's kind of, I think maybe where my heart goes to. And not saying that that's an easy find for people, who are kind of known and want to share their story. That's always another aspect of finding the speakers. But those are the things that kind of stand out for me. The kind of, it's all political, of course, but I don't know. For me, that's so important. Like, because we need laws changed and all that kind of stuff. So when people share those stories, it's fuel for our fodder, But they're all so good, like every one of them. So I'm just commenting on two that I remember that really got my heart thumping. The rest were all so informative and so, I loved every one of them. So I'm not narrowing anything down here for you, but I don't know. That's what I think.
No, I think that's great feedback. And I think that is kind of the goal, is finding people sharing their stories, mixing in with other topics, trying to find that balance, and people willing to do it.
Yeah, that's
so if anyone knows of anyone that's willing to be a speaker or share their story, if you want to throw them to the group, we can kind of have a chat with them and figure out our schedule going forward.
Yeah. Politicians are a favorite of mine. Like, I think that's so awesome when they, take a stand. I don't know how we managed to get Georgette Reed on our panel, like whoever found her. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, way to go, Jen. So
just a little update on Georgette Reed. She accepted a job in North Vancouver at the university there. So she's using all her brilliant skills and stuff. So she's left our city, but we're still in touch.
Speaking of university, I think, Rachel, you turned me on to the survey that the UBC was doing. So I've begun that. It's been really interesting. We've done part 1 and then we'll be doing part 2 in August, but it's pretty awesome. This amazing young woman who is, you know, Zooming with me and listening to everything I say with rapt attention, and, you know, so good for my ego. But it's really good, and thank you for the tip.
Oh, you're welcome. Did anyone else have any feedback?
Michael has got his hand up, and then
Oh,
Larry.
I can't see the group, sorry.
Go Michael first and then Larry.
Okay.
Thanks for having this session today, a little update as well. I did think that there was quite a good balance. I think that's one of the things I kind of appreciated. There were, you know, things about, you know, that people talked about themselves and things that were important. And then we had, you know, someone, a lawyer, talking about, you know, stuff that might be, not might, but was of importance in terms from a legal perspective. So there's some, and we had the singing as well. So we had, you know, a kind of interesting balance. I certainly think on the political side that it would be useful to try to get Randy Beausoleil, particularly since the feds are our biggest funder at the moment. And he largely made this money happen when he was there, not this term, but the term before, kind of thing, in that too. So I think there's that part. There's also the part that he's the Minister of Tourism. We see what that has. And then I think we want to ask him about what kind of federal support there is for housing. And specifically for us. I think it also might be interesting to have a session or two on senior housing. I don't know whether we've had Laurie Winmer from Ashburn to talk about, did we have Laurie? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. All right. See, my memory is really bad. Kind of thing that it falls behind. But perhaps is someone else from that sector, or even someone from the city that's working on housing these days, might be of interest as well. Yeah, and then the program, the program at Sage that deals with seniors who are abused in housing.
The safe house.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's what I'm trying to think of. That might be of the interest as well. Somebody from there, kind of things. I know
Laura did sort of, but I don't know if she specifically touched on the safe house. Maybe it was more generically about elder abuse.
Yeah. I think it's something, well, my opinion is that many of us have not thought about, but I have to admit that was when I first heard about it, I had no clue. And also it's like seniors being abused, what? You know, kind of, they didn't think that happened. A little naive there as well, kind of as well. So those would be a couple of suggestions that I would have. Thanks.
Okay. Larry, you had your hand up.
I did, and to me, the one thing that's really important in this is balance. Michael mentioned it. You know, I would like to hear stories of success as well as stories of where we're still having to struggle on some of those issues. And you know, and I think we've done a good job on that. And the thing that, given that we're using Zoom only, I was struck how successful all of the entertainment / music sessions with the Party Queens, with Roger Helfrich, and with Northern Heart. I thought they really seemed to go very well. I'd like us to continue that. So a balance, I think, and having some upbeat as well as calls to action, I think is really important. The other thing it struck me is it would be nice to have some sessions that deal with seniors' issues as they affect all seniors, provided we can have someone who understands how this might be slightly different for GLB2S populations as well. I mean, something as simple as say as medical problems, the issues, what are the common, and there are a couple of GPs in town who might well be prepared to talk about what are the common issues among senior gay men or lesbians, so that would be a particular thing. But I really would argue for balance, and I think stories are important. I think to hear from people. I'd wondered as well. We talked about Jeff Bovey. I wonder as well about hearing about some of the stories of people who can no longer give those stories themselves, but have once in a while a memorial session. I think of people like Maureen Irwin, Jeff Bovey, a lot of people whose names will be forgotten. And since we're recording this, it really is an opportunity to memorialize those people. And I think those are my only ideas at the moment.
Anyone else want to share at all?
Hi, Rachel, it's Barb.
Oh, hi, Barb.
I just landed up coming to the last three. I guess maybe I didn't know about them or something, but I really enjoyed the three that I did hear on Zoom. So I agree with Michael and Larry about balance and hearing stories. That's good. Because I'm a theater lover and can't wait for the Fringe, I really, of course, enjoyed Darren. And also, it's good to have Trevor Schmitz on. He's good. And so I guess mine, besides stories, would be anything like music or entertainment. And I just thought of something. I know Senior Centers Without Walls, in the next series that they're doing, they're bringing in a spokesperson from the Edmonton Police Service, and they're doing on personal safety and home safety for seniors. So I thought that would be, that'd be okay. Yeah. So that's all that came to mind right off the top of my head.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Any others? Joan?
There was a really interesting program on CBC this morning talking about advancements in medical treatments for anything to do with aging. And of course, one of them is classifying it as a disease and treating it such so that they can actually, doctors can prescribe different things for us. Like one of the examples was metformin, which is, I don't know, they use it for diabetes, I think. And so they're finding that it really helps things like zombie cells from spreading, so stopping cancers and whatnot. But I don't know, maybe something to do with advancements in medical technology, things that are near and dear to all of us. I mean, I guess it's not specific to queer seniors, but we could make it that way. Call it our issue. Anyway, but some more medical like advancements, I think would be interesting.
Which is kind of just speaking to that general topics that apply to anyone and are just of interest. I think that is an important mix to maybe have, like we tried to do with elder abuse or seniors finance or legal document, like just kind of mixing those in. Yeah.
The other thing was, I was wondering, all of our guests and speakers, are they all part of our community, or were there some that were, no, because Lori, yeah, okay, yeah, gotcha, of course. So that would maybe make it easier for us to get speakers. Like if somebody were to come from the medical industry to speak to us, they wouldn't necessarily have to be part of our community. So, yeah.
No, I don't think it's ever a prerequisite for sure.
Right,
It's more about
right.
just the
Okay,
topic.
yeah, I
yeah.
didn't think it was, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be an interesting concept. I mean, what if we could stop aging?
Mhm.
You know, and all the implications that goes with that. We would call it not aging with pride.
Reverse aging with pride.
Yeah, that's
Larry,
right.
I see you have your hand.
Getting younger with pride.
It's Lorraine. Further to what the other lady just finished saying was maybe overall mental health talks would be helpful too, you know,
Yeah.
and pain management, something like that. You could kind of combine the two, because dealing with chronic pain affects a person's mental health a lot.
Yeah.
They were talking about that actually on this program a lot. Was to do with the act of aging and inflammation happens. So this drug that they've been using for other things, they were finding it was working for that. So yeah, and that was a big topic, was the whole idea of chronic pain, and that's the big draw for a lot of people. They're not really wanting to live forever, but they sure like to live pain-free. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And just how to deal with it if you are dealing with it on a daily basis, because it's not, you know, depression and that kind of stuff sets in.
Very true. And like you said, go ahead, Larry, if you want to.
Oh,
speak.
sure.
Sorry.
I was just going to say that a huge issue is dementia, and in particular, early dementia, when, you know, it's at the end stages when the person is hospitalized. You know, that's probably less important than how partners, caregivers, family members deal. And the Alzheimer's Society certainly had lots of good information. It wouldn't be gay specific, but it's important information, I think.
Well, I know I appreciate the feedback, because it is something that when we are throwing around topics, we weren't sure. Do we want just kind of general aging topics? Do we want it to be more kind of, specifically to the group? So it's, again, this is really great feedback, because I'll throw out topics like, well, I get this speaker for my seniors at Sage, so maybe, and we just weren't sure if it's something that the group actually wants us to take a week away from and focus on or not. So it's kind of good to know that, yes, we are on the right track and just keeping a good mix. Anyone else?
Well, maybe the aging word, if we ever wanted to change that title, it would be more of a health and wellness thing. Like if we stop aging, then we can't use aging. But that would be another, referring to the previous comment, like maybe it would be not just about aging. Like we could open it up a little bit to health and wellness. That's a real catchy phrase now. So something more not just like somebody would read the word aging or seniors and go, oh, I'm not really interested in that. But in fact, as you said, Rachel, it could be something very pertinent to anyone. So I don't know.
Most topics are really, I mean.
Yeah, actually they are, aren't they?
We are a giant spectrum of all of our needs. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Who are you calling a spectrum? Oh, just kidding. Just kidding.
See, Robert has got his hand up.
Robert?
Well, hi, and I always feel like I'm an intruder a little bit here, because I come in from Saskatoon, and I don't know how many off times it's gone. Holy cow, it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I missed going to that session, Edmonton group. So, and I apologize for being in late today, and also apologize for as I was signed in on another account, and I tried not to do that. So I gather, sorry if I'm off topic, but in terms of topic suggestions, two things I've come across recently in Saskatoon. One is we had a speaker on, what was the title of it? It was basically Two-Spirit and then the alphabet after it. And the young person who presented was just the most, and came from Trans-Sask Support Services, which is, and I don't know if they've done much trans stuff on with the Edmonton group. I don't recall seeing it, and I don't know if we've done much Two-Spirited stuff either. But I thought I was reasonably aware, and I wasn't as aware as I thought I was when it comes to what Two-Spirit encompasses. So that was an interesting one. And the other one that we talked about in our group yesterday is, and somebody may know more about this than I do, but there's a national group that's trying to set up a telephone tech support service for queer seniors paired with, as Dan Savage would say, tech savvy youth. And so that if you're having, and the idea is to try to avoid the reduce social isolation. And so my understanding was, I mean, their prime objective was to say, hey, you don't know how to use Zoom, phone up, we'll walk you through it and we'll get you there. But I think it was broader than that. You're having trouble with your printer, you're having trouble with et cetera, and let's try to bridge that generation gap. And so it'll be a 1-800 number across Canada. So just throw that out there. And if, I could get the exact reference. It came out of Queer Seniors of Saskatchewan that had been approached to participate in this. So there's another thought. They give a presentation on how the whole thing works.
If you could send us a link for that one, Robert, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's something that we could look into. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll dig that out. I'll have to get it from somebody, and I'll probably send it to Jan. I think is the easiest way.
Sure. Or there's always that Aging with Pride email that you use to register. That's just a generic email we can get to.
Jan will be faster.
Yes, it's true. Just in case people didn't have your contact, Jan, I didn't want them to feel like they had to scramble for it. So
Robert,
you're right, though.
Robert and I communicate a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I post the poster every week on our Facebook page. And I don't know why there's been such a little uptake on it. We've seldom had anybody else come along because your sessions have been super. They've all been just great. And I look forward to coming to more of them.
That's what we like to hear.
And I think, it has been a really nice blend. And what touched me particularly was last week's Larry's talking about that journey and the alcoholism. And I know that for a lot of folks of our age, where the meeting place was the bar, and the bar, brought in a lot of things. So I think those personal experiences are always so important and so brilliant. So that's something, but I think we have strive for a balance, and these are all very, very good suggestions that we're looking for coming. We're taking the summer off, but we're planning on being back in the fall, and we've already started to make a list of possible topics and possible presenters and so on. Just one of the things on that was the seniors housing. I think what would be very beneficial would be a discussion of like what the broad breadth of seniors housing looks like. For many people, as soon as you say seniors housing, their mind automatically goes to long-term care. Yeah. And in truth, only somewhere between 7 to 8% of seniors live in long-term care. The other options are, fully independent living or living with a little bit of support, a little bit of dementia support. And that, in fact, I just read from the National Institute on Aging yesterday a report on caregiving for 2SL LGBTQ seniors experiencing dementia. So there's a lot of things, and a lot of these things cross over boundaries of, you know, that gay, straight, trans, whatever, your chances of developing dementia later in life are about equal. And so I think those are important ones. You're right, Larry. Alzheimer's Society, as well as Caregivers Alberta, of both, either one would be very, very knowledgeable in helping with that. So, okay, I don't know if I jumped in at the wrong spot or not.
No, I think that's good. If anyone else has any feedback, you can always, if you think of it after, or like I said, come across a good presentation or a name that you think would be willing to speak, send it our way anytime. Yeah, just appreciate your feedback.
I see Michael has his hand up.
Yeah, just yeah, with I'm sorry I had to miss just a little bit in there, but listening to Eric and that too, and the broader scope, I wonder whether it would be valuable to have someone from home care that, you know, is involved in running it, whatever, that I suspect we have all kinds of thoughts and opinions about it. And I'll bet I don't have a real clue as to what it really is supposed to be doing and how it operates, and that a little bit. And that I wonder whether something like that might be useful as well. It's almost like having the lawyer again. I mean, this is really what home care is about, and what it's all about, and where it's useful or not useful or whatever kind of thing in that. So that's just a thought that popped into my head, really springing out of with some of what Eric was talking about. Is another sector, another part of I think how we think about getting old these days, is that there's home care around as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think definitely home care is an important component about talking about what my future living arrangements are. That, you know, the provision of home care can mean that I can be staying in one place longer. Larry, I see you had your hand up though, again.
Yeah, the intergenerational stuff and Robert's talk about the two spirits sort of triggered that I found very useful, and rather like Robert's experience, I knew less than I thought I did about the issues that younger people were dealing with. So an intergenerational conversation, I think, might be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Good. Sounds like we're gonna have a good next year, hopefully.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, I guess it might be time to talk about, you know, if you'd like a refresher on if you've missed any topics this year, we do have recorded sessions online. And there's the link for it, but, and I'm not quite sure, bear with me if I do this properly, but we'll stop sharing that for a moment, and then we'll start sharing screen again. And over here, share. And if you just type into the YouTube search box, Edmonton Pride Seniors Group, you'll see that we have, yeah, that's where you can find all of our old ones, and my computer seems to be frozen for some reason. So somebody else can keep talking while I try to figure out.
I also had it, if you type in Aging with Pride, it comes up as well. So because they've been both tagged as ways to find it under Edmonton Pride Seniors Group and Aging with Pride, which is obviously a branch off of Edmonton Pride Seniors Group. So I think they're under the Pride Center as well. I think they have them on their main YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
As
correct.
well.
They're in 2 locations, and I'd just like to give a big shout out to our hero, Bill Lee, who has taken this project on with such a passion, and he's just done such a good job, and we couldn't have done it without you, Bill. Thank you so much, and it just looks really good what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can I just quickly say that besides the Pride Center and myself, actually, we couldn't do it without any of the volunteers of this group. Jan and Eric and Michael, like Bill, everyone but me are really volunteers. So, I mean, just a big thank you. Larry, like this has all been off of volunteers and many, many hours of work. And
Mhm.
I just can't say thank you enough, because it has been a lot of hard work and dedication. And I just want to say how much I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone appreciates it, but yes, thank you to all our volunteers.
And
Right, pat your own back. That is true.
And I think, I'll just, before I go on to the next one, that I'm a late comer. Jan, Larry, Rachel, and the Pride Center had all been working on this before I was invited to join the group. So I've added a little bit of, I don't know, I've added a little confusion from time to time, which is part of my job. So I guess the next question, what problems have you encountered either with content or technically? I guess my question, what we're trying to do for next year, and we'll get to next season about what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it, but really want to figure out if anybody had any technical problems. Are you not getting the invitations to join? Are you having problems logging in? When you try to log in, if we ignore you and leave you in the waiting room for half an hour, those are the types of things that I'd like to know about. If anybody has experienced problems with those types of elements, either on a technical side, or you didn't feel that some of our content was appropriate. Either way, and I'm sitting here behind my desk, so you can go ahead and attack me as much. Or no, speak honestly, please. We're very, very focused on trying to make sure that next year has got, we're doing the best we can. I see Robert and Jan has got their hands up. So Robert, let's go to you first, and then Jan, and oops, Joanne. Okay, I'm making the list. So Robert first, Jan, and then Joanne.
Joan.
Joe.
No complaint at all, but what I really appreciated was after I registered the first time, I got an email with the link for the next session without having to ask for it. Sometimes it was a reminder because I hadn't seen it. And I didn't have to look for it. I didn't have to think, gee, did I register for the session this week or not? And I don't know if that's caused any problems for the organization, but it sure was a nice touch, and I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Jan.
I'm glad to hear that that's working, because that's, I think, how we keep the members coming and also get some new ones that way. I have a question for how the house concert went with Northern Heart. I wasn't able to hear it from your perspective. So did that work?
Yeah, it's certainly, I heard it.
And the sound was okay?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit once in a while, in and out, but I think that's how close they were to the microphone or not, or picking up at that, but nothing significant.
Is it worth doing again?
Oh, yes.
Something like it, sure.
Nice.
So
I think both-
I have a question for whoever set up the Zoom for that. Did there are special settings for Zoom for music performances? And my sense of what I heard from the recording was that those settings weren't used, and the music came through sounding a little thin and a little bit distorted.
We needed this conversation with you before, Bill, because I didn't even know those settings existed.
But Bill, you're already on my list to talk about a few things over the summertime.
No worries.
On the list. That just got added. But thank you very much for that input.
So we have had musicians who played and who obviously knew what those settings were and took care of them themselves. But in this one case, I think maybe we missed that.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Bill, would you have enough content to give a talk to us yourself on technology?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I tend to be the anxious sort, and I think that would be too much for my mental health. Thanks, though.
Look at Jan always trying to book speakers. That's just her.
It's selfish.
I can certainly do one-on-one, like with Eric. I've been through these music settings before, and one-on-one or one on 2 or 3 maybe with yeah, sure, exactly, yes, absolutely, Jan. So that would be fine.
That's really important. Going forward to the fall, we are looking, and that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but we're looking for doing that both in person and Zoom at the same time. So getting those settings right. So that's why I said, Bill, I definitely put that on my agenda for our next meeting. Joan, you had a
Yeah, I was going to comment on the technical part of the music. That was a very good question, because I was curious myself how it sounded. Sounded great in Jan's living room. But the other thing was, I did miss a few meetings because I didn't get an email, and it's, you know, my responsibility to keep track of these things, but that hasn't happened for a while now. So I have been getting regular emails. So, you know, and that was just a thing, because if I didn't enter it into my calendar, you know, sometimes you forget, right? So the emails are really so important, and I really appreciate getting them. And I haven't missed any for quite a while now. So I don't know, that was a couple months back, but anyway, It's all good now.
Okay.
Does the Zoom link change every meeting, or is it the same?
It changes, I believe.
It changes, okay.
Yeah.
That's good for security, actually.
I was gonna say, for security's sake, yes, like on my life enrichment at Sage, it just being drop in. I don't have that. I just have the weight room enabled, and the link's always the same. But for this group, we decided to kind of have it as a security feature.
It's one of the things that we're going to look at for next fall. Now, did you, Joanne? Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to the committee. So I kind of came on late in life and really only started to participate because Jan invited me. And Bill, I totally get where you're coming from. When Jan asked me to talk about the Pride bus, I thought, well, okay, that'll take about 5 minutes. And then what are we going to do for the rest of the hour? And it actually, it went much longer than that. There's lots of people who show interest, ask questions, so it's not quite as frightening as it might seem. Going back to the technology part, it is somewhat challenging. Sometimes, of course, I'm in the middle of my workday, so I'm pretty much stuck with my work technology, which unfortunately is all about Google at the city. So I've had to kind of learn how to deal with Zoom when you're working on an environment that's not really set up for Zoom. But the people that I spoke with for my particular presentation were very helpful. We worked through my issues. Kimberly was great with her help. His help. Anyway, I got lots of help from Kimberly. It was great. So, you know, there are workarounds, but it can be a little frustrating sometimes. The only question I think I might have is, have you ever perhaps considered a different time to have the session so that working people might find it a little bit easier to participate? Because, you know, this doesn't really fall in the normal lunch hours. So if there's other working people out there that might join, they may not be able to just because of the time. But I'm lucky, I can make it work. So it's not that much of a problem. I also want to go back and address the topics. You've done a fantastic job. And all those people now who have put forward suggestions, it's like everyone that I was thinking of just all of a sudden popped in, and I look forward to the next year. It's still going to be a little difficult for me to tune in just because of my work environment, but I certainly am looking forward to it. And I appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, the time is a bit of a, we might consider maybe at lunch hour. I don't know. That's something that we'll have to talk about over the summertime. One of the things was, of course, that what we were planning on pre-COVID, we were planning on having these sessions as in person at Sage, and Sage being, you know, in an office building downtown there, you know, sort of 8 to 5 office hours as normal. So I had thought about every once in a while, maybe we should have a dinner hour meeting and that sort of thing. But those are, it's a good point. There are, just because I have the luxury of being retired, that doesn't mean everybody else does. And so we have to, we're going to have to see if maybe we could do one session a month later in the afternoon or something like that, just to help on the mail outs. I think what we're going to start doing is using MailChimp, because that way it's sort of a, we know that the emails are going to go out for sure, and it also gives the people an ability to opt out if they no longer want to receive our messages, and also it makes it easier for people to opt in. So that's it.
Right.
Robert, you had your hand up again.
Just interested to what you've talked about. I don't know if this group met prior to COVID, and if so, I suspect you met in person. And Saskatoon, I know we did, and we had between 20 and 25 people come every Wednesday morning from 10 to 12, and we get new people dropping in. And when we went to Zoom, I think our numbers are about half of what they were when we were meeting in person. There are people who were regulars who have the technology, but they just don't want to do Zoom. And I guess more alarming than that is that we've had not a single person join our group since COVID hit. And I mean, we grew. The first time I went, and I think it was 2017, there was Peter and I, we were the group, and it just gradually grew. So we've talked about doing is perhaps, you know, alternate weeks in person when we can do that, and then the next one online. We do have people from rural areas. We got one guy that comes in, I guess I shouldn't say guy now, one woman that comes in from Lac La Ronge, and that's like a 4.5 hour drive away. And so we don't want to exclude them. And then there are people with mobility issues that are part of our regular group. So we haven't figured out quite what to do. Somebody talked about, well, can we do a hybrid of some kind? And nobody's got a clue as to what that would look like. My only basis is back when we used to do conference calls, and you'd have somebody phoning in, and you'd have the speaker on the middle of the table so they could hear, and they basically got ignored and weren't able to really participate. It was a really poor substitute. So that doesn't seem to work, but you know, you've got technological experts. I'll be really keen to hear what kind of solutions that you folks come up with.
Well, that sort of brings us to our next
I was just
topic.
gonna say.
And well, we've done what type of subjects and what this, I'm looking at the time here. This has been a really good conversation. But a couple of things. We are going to try hybrid. Again, we've had people calling in from BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Texas, Mexico. We are going to try a hybrid. Exactly how I'm going to be able to do that, I don't know, but we'll see what we can figure out over the summertime. Robert, you brought up a good point. People with mobility issues, or if it's 40 below and they don't really want to go out, or it's icy or that sort of thing. So there are some definite advantages.
No, I didn't.
But it's not the same. You know, if we meet in person, I can bake those coconut and lemon muffins that I promised Larry and Jan. You know, there's all sorts of there's benefits to meeting in person, but we also want to be able to provide a source of contact for people who aren't. We did years ago, we did have in person at the Pride Center, and we had an awful lot of people attending on a regular basis. So,
and we had Jeff Jeff did a Over the Rainbow group at Sage for years as well. That
Sage
was
as well. I
in
was gonna
person
mention that
before
as well.
COVID. So yeah, it's been.
So I think that's really, Rachel, when can we start? When can we add in-person meetings at Sage?
That is the $1 million question, Eric, because we feel like we keep saying, oh, it's surely only a few months away. And then it's like years later with the pandemic. Fingers crossed, two things. We are hoping that as of the fall, currently Sage still has the restrictions where our doors are closed. Nothing is really open yet, but everyone registers. I just was going to say that we right now have a mask mandate still and a social distancing mandate. So it's made in-person a bit difficult. The other problem is that Sage, we don't have great technology. We don't have great Wi-Fi and it cuts in and out. So we don't want to have internet we can't rely on. So we just got a grant for that. It's supposedly going to get installed over the summer where we're going to have hardwired internet in the basement and new camera and new, hopefully, laptop speaker situation. So our dream is to do a hybrid version where, you know, during the speakers or on Zoom, people be in person and on Zoom listening. That's kind of what the Linda and Danielle were the test run of a little bit. So we wanted to see if people online had a similar experience to us in person, just to kind of get a feel for that. And then, yeah, that's the dream, is that hopefully starting in the fall, we can actually be kind of a hybrid of both, and we will have the technology to support that. And then people can join us from whatever makes the most sense for them. So that is the dream, fingers crossed. I feel like I've said this 8,000 times already, but I am hoping that come like October when we start, is probably when we'll start up again, that we will have the technology in place and the COVID restrictions lifted. Really, also that it could in person with a bit of coffee and social time to kind of really foster those connections as well, which is also a big point group. So that's the dream. That's my non-answer answer.
We just don't know.
And I think for this slide, what programs are planned for 2022? One of the things Larry had mentioned, the experience of trans individuals. We do have a trans person who is going to, be talking to us in the fall. And then we have
We found an older person who's just finished the transition, who's just so willing to come and talk to us. So I'm quite excited that Leah's going to come. And that's our first session will be October the 7th. So there won't be anything in September. We're going to start up again in October.
So that, yeah, and then we have all sorts of wonderful suggestions from you. And we also had some written on the side of the side of the envelope, as the expression goes. So I think we're prepared to have some pretty good speakers over the next session. Michael, your hand is up again.
Yes, thanks, Ed. Yeah, just a couple very quick suggestions. But one is, I think we should do a cooking show, which might be quite fun and good.
With who?
I don't care who, we'll figure that out, kind of thinking that. And then someone like Gallup, who does a medical doctor, that we might want family physician do that. And then also program wise, it might be interesting to do, they decide, for example, to do 3 vignettes that are historical specifically. Not one after the other, but like maybe the first one each month or something like that. That was specifically going to be about a historical event that was significant, that someone would come and do a little bit of that kind of a programming kind of thing. It's just a thought. That's it.
Good. Jan, we're getting
Barb,
close.
Eric. I just want to make sure that somebody, I think from the Pride Center, still calls me because I'm coming in on the telephone. Mm-hmm. And I have had somebody call me every week to give me the meeting ID and the passcode. So I don't know if you want to make a notation or something.
Sure,
I'm probably the only one that comes in by the telephone, but yeah, it's worked out. Even if I haven't been home, he's, rattled off all the numbers, repeated them, so I haven't had a problem. And he's given me his phone number in case I haven't heard anything. So just thought I'd throw that in. Thank you.
Is that Kim?
I'm sorry?
Is that our Kim who gave you that?
I'm not sure. It was a person that had, they just said their initials, like it wasn't
Yeah,
MJ, it
SJ.
was.
Yeah.
Oh, SJ?
I can't remember the initials.
But that is a good reminder, Barb, and we can actually build it into our own group calendar invites to remind ourselves to
Very
call
good.
you with the information or whatever. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're getting-
so I don't want to miss anything.
No,
Just-
obviously.
Although if they're in person,
I've enjoyed
at
I've enjoyed the last 3, well, I guess 4. So sounds like you've got a good set of ideas for future. So yeah.
currently that's all we have is one session and a bunch of ideas for the fall, but we'll get there.
But thank you very
That's
much. for
okay.
that, Barb. That's very,
Mhm.
very helpful.
Yeah.
Good reminder. I didn't know that we were doing that, so that's a good point. Jan, we're almost a couple of minutes just before noon, and I haven't done such a great job of moderating and getting through the agenda. But I think we've covered most of the points, and I'm just wondering, Jan, do you have any final items to wrap up with? Throw it
Like
over to you.
completely taken by surprise, Eric.
Well, that's good.
But I think you covered everything pretty well. Thank you everybody for your suggestions, and I personally find this kind of feedback, open discussion session very helpful.
Me too.
When you talk to us and tell us what you want. So thank you for participating with us, and we're going to keep doing it.
Okay. And if you could help us build the crowd, talking to your friends and colleagues about when we start again in the fall, to encourage other people to attend. The whole idea is to try to create a point of contact for other seniors in the community, and hopefully that they will be able to start meeting in person, but even just the ability to log into a weekly Zoom session. I've gotten some feedback that it's been very helpful for many people.
Good.
So with that, thank you so much for attending today. Thank you for the fantastic suggestions that have been made in terms of topics for next session. Tomorrow's Canada Day. Hope everybody is planning to have some fun and relax and enjoy the summertime, now that it almost looks like it's here. So thank you everybody for attending today. Thank you for attending during the year, and look forward to seeing you all again in the fall.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.